From a roster standpoint, we were able to address some goals, getting a starting center, which was something that we felt like was very important, adding a couple really good wings in terms of 3 and D wings, Jake LaRavia and Marcus Smart. Clearly getting an extension done with Luka. In addition, having LeBron choose another year with the Lakers as opposed to entering free agency, all positive and productive things for us as a basketball team. And in addition to that, too, recently extending JJ's contract just to make it clear that he's, the basketball leader in terms of our coaching and on-court performance. So lots of business done in the off-season. Of course, now the games will begin next month. Training camp gets going, obviously, next week. So
why now for an extension? JJ had a bunch of years left on his deal. Why was it important now to extend that vote?
Confidence and belief. We think he's a special coach with a special voice that's really helping us to continue to define the culture of Lakers excellence, and which just wanted to make a clear statement that this is what we believe in, what we're going to lean into, and what our players are going to mold into as we continue to develop the identity. I think having long-term planning is helpful as we build this team and go forward.
I'd start with Rob, just thinking about the summer with Luka and the extension, and then I know you guys were able to fly over to Poland to see a game and to see him. How did that inform you, sort of about where he's at, where the team's at, how you build into the future with him, and of course, especially for starting this season?
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about with Luka's accomplishments with Eurobasket. I think the thing that probably stood out among many things for me is just being able to go and spend some time at practices with his national team, and obviously going to the game as well. But just his overall leadership tone and how he not only led by example, but he was very demonstrative in the practice in terms of his expectations of the team, how they played, their togetherness. And I think just seeing that continued evolution and growth with him is not only a leader by example, but a leader with his voice, really stood out to me. And I think it's something that's going to carry into camp this year.
He's in a contract year. How does that affect your team building process as you not only have to take into account this year's roster, but the optionality of the team for years to come?
Yeah, I think we've talked before. The first thing we want to do in terms of LeBron and his future is just give him absolute respect to choose his story with his family in terms of how many years he's going to continue to play. He's earned that right, and he's the best one to talk about that in terms of how many years he'd like to play. But we were very intentional this summer in terms of the pieces we add with Luka and LeBron once LeBron opted in, making sure that they had the necessary pieces around them to be on a really competitive, strong team. And we built into that and for that. In terms of the future, obviously, again, with what I started your question with, first things first would be for him to be able to make the decisions he wants to in terms of how long he wants to play. We're going to continue to honor and respect that and let him speak into that.
If he was interested in extending beyond this year, are the Lakers interested in having LeBron James as part of the team?
Yeah, I think I've said before in a previous question, we would love if LeBron's story would be to retire as a Laker. That'd be a positive story.
In the offseason, what have you kind of thought about in terms of LeBron and Luka and Austin, kind of working those three together? You guys had to do it really on the fly last year. How did time aid in kind of your ability to sort of chart that out?
I think the word I would use would be share. I think in a team sport, you have no choice but to share the basketball, share the spotlight. I think all three of those guys have a ton of respect for each other's skill sets and each other's abilities. One of the takeaways, I met with Sean McVay in May, a few weeks after the season ended, and spent the whole day with the Rams. And I got about 3 hours alone with Sean, and we were picking each other's brains, and it was very helpful. But one of the takeaways from that was utility plays. That's something that is a football term, and I think every basketball team has those utility plays. And so it's the utility plays are plays where all three of those guys feel involved in some capacity, and they're sharing the court together.
Action start with Sean McVay and Tom Brady. Were those new this season, or have you done something similar before?
So prior to being hired by the Lakers, I spent a lot of time with coaches, and Sean was one of those guys outside of basketball that I developed a relationship with. Very close friends with Andrew Whitworth, so Whit hooked us up and talked with him a bunch. We wanted to get together prior to last season, but moving and getting the kids in school, we didn't find a day, so feel lucky I got to do that with him.
Jay, for you, going into training camp last year, you had determined and revealed the starting lineup going into the season. I was wondering if you had made the same determination this season or going to this season, and if so, if you'd be willing to share it.
I haven't spent that. It's not that important to me. I haven't spent a ton of time thinking about it. We certainly have a number of players, we call it 7 or 8, that are starter level players in the NBA. I do know this. I did say that last year, and that starting lineup started 8 games together to start the season, and we started 24 lineups throughout the year. So not going to spend too much time banging my head against a wall on that before we have a practice. Well, I would say this. We've asked all our guys to be in championship shape and not starting on Tuesday. And so the commitment level across the board from our team has been very high this summer. We've had organized workouts. The guys have played pickup nearly every day. We've added conditioning at the end. They've all been committed to it. But I think for me, that's probably the biggest thing. It's not a basketball thing that he can or can't do. It's just all of us being in elite shape.
With what you're talking about with the roster you assembled this summer, in what ways do you think this current group can make things relatively easier for LeBron and Luka?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit to it and then let JJ address this. I mean, first and foremost, having a true center that is both great in the short roll when you have DeAndre Ayton in pick and rolls with Austin Reeves, Luka, and LeBron. His ability to catch passes in the short roll, we've already seen some of that in sort of the player workouts that have been going on. He's also a lob threat. So just adding that dimension, his size is very real. And then we know that LeBron and Luka both have thrived with players that have that 3-and-D component. We felt like Jake LaRavia is a young player that is really good now and has a lot of growth left in him. And then Marcus Smart has proven to be an elite 3-and-D player at different points of his career. And our sports performance staff is working really hard with him to make sure he gets back to that form. It was just a couple seasons ago, I think he won Defensive Player of the Year. So there's still a lot to be excited about with adding him.
I mean, Rob covered most of it there. I think just touching for me a little bit on Jake, who didn't have his option picked up as a rookie for his 4th year. So probably unexpected that he ends up being a free agent this time a year or two ago. And so to get a young player in free agency for a team that is trying to win a championship, it's an incredible opportunity for myself and our player development department to have him continue to grow. I'm very high on him. His level of commitment to what we've asked of the guys this offseason has been very high. And obviously played against Marcus, played against DeAndre. Marcus and I had many battles, 13 stitches over my left eye one time. Played him in the playoffs. I know what I'm getting out of Marcus on a daily basis, so really excited to have him as part of our group. And DeAndre's been here the last couple weeks playing with the guys, and just super impressed by his size, his agility, his hands. I think he's going to make a wonderful pick and roll partner for Luka.
I wanted to ask you about Austin Reeves, a person who has been extremely low profile every single summer, but you know he's in here every single night, every single day, and just the way he's improved his game every single season, and some things that you've seen about him, because I know a lot of times during the summer he's very low key, but I know he's been in the lab probably more than anybody too.
I mean, when he's not on the golf course. A guy shot a 65 this summer. Make sure you ask him about that on Tuesday. It's been a constant comment from our staff. He's been the best. Every day he's been in the gym, he's been the best player in the gym. But I see, again, this goes back to last May, all summer, his body is really good right now. Like, he's really strong. His burst, his athleticism, it's evident that he spent a lot of time working on his body this summer.
Obviously, getting DeAndre Ayton in the offseason was a big acquisition. Just would love to hear you just expand on how important of a role he's going to have, how critical he's going to be to this team, and just what some of your expectations are for him as the season begins.
His expectations are no different than any other player. I'll just say that. Again, it goes back to the daily commitment to those three things. This is a guy who was a number one pick, who has produced in every sort of situation he's been in, whether that's been early in his career, post Chris Paul trade. Like he's played in the NBA Finals, been the anchor of a defense and a starter on an NBA Finals team. So I think even just being in the gym with him the last couple weeks, this guy played pick and roll with Chris Paul. Like, there's not a more detail-oriented player. Like, his feel for two-man action is just super high, and really excited to see him play with Luka.
So you mentioned that you know what you're going to get out of Marcus. What's the hope for what he's going to add to this team?
I would say toughness. I've already told him this. Like, we need his voice. That's part of communication. His competitive spirit. And defensively, he, probably went a little bit under the radar because of the last 2 years, but he still grades out in nearly every metric in 80th percentile or higher, so he's still a very versatile defender. And to me, he's always been a little bit of an underrated playmaker. I think with, Austin and Luka, those guys are obviously going to be primary ball handlers for us, but Marcus can be that secondary ball handler.
Do you see anything different from Rui compared to last season?
I would describe Rui as a joy to be around every day, and that joy is almost always there. And what I've seen just in the last few weeks, just a higher and higher level of confidence, and I think you still have to look at him as a young player in this league. And I think for any young player, as your confidence grows, your joy grows, your production and output grows. So, again, it's small, nuanced things, but Rui's playing with a lot of confidence. He's carrying himself with a lot of confidence, and it has been and is just an absolute pleasure to coach.
Hey, JJ. Dalton is a guy that you guys were really high on when you drafted him. Admittedly, a weird end to last season, weird summer league. What have your conversations been like with him this offseason, or what have you seen from him in the gym that makes you confident that he could get back to the guy he was at the beginning of last season?
Dalton's in a really good spot right now. I've had a number of conversations with him throughout the summer. They've all been very positive. I really believe this. The guy did too much after the season, and I think in summer league he was burnt out. He was coming in here at 5 a.m., getting shots up, then doing 2 workouts with our summer league staff and in the weight room. We had our last conditioning run of the preseason today, and he beat everybody by a long way. He's in phenomenal shape. He's in a great spot mentally. He's played well throughout September.
And then, big picture, JJ, you mentioned Mark Walter's name. We haven't really talked about that yet. It's a pretty big thing that happened in this organization this summer. How has that affected day-to-day for you guys? I know the sale has not closed yet, but just curiously, how has that affected kind of the way that you guys have done your jobs here since that happened in June or whenever?
Mark's an incredibly exciting leader. And as you said, the transaction's still in process. But one thing that's clear about Mark is he has a strong level of belief in the operations of this place, and led by Jeannie Buss, and part of our future will be continue to be led by her with the day-to-day operations. But Mark is just an incredible resource and visionary, and I don't see there being big changes.
Where do Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler rank among the NBA's best? As a new season approaches, the Golden State Warriors find themselves once again in the spotlight, not just because of their legacy, but because of a revitalized core led by two of the league's most respected veterans, Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler. For much of the last decade, the Warriors were the team everyone expected to be in the finals. But reality has shifted. In the past 6 seasons, Golden State has made just one finals appearance. So now the question lingers, should expectations be tempered, or is this team poised for one more deep run? If Steph Curry has anything to say about it, the Warriors are far from done. And the front office agrees. At last season's trade deadline, Golden State made a bold move, acquiring 6-time All-Star Jimmy Butler. It didn't take long for the new pairing to click. Together, Curry and Butler posted a remarkable 22-5 record in the regular season, an instant chemistry that surprised even the most optimistic fans. With Curry entering his 17th NBA season and Butler adjusting to his new surroundings, the duo quietly became one of the league's most dangerous combinations. Still elite, still respected. Despite being well into their 30s, both players remain firmly in the conversation among the league's elite. In ESPN's latest Top 100 rankings heading into the 2025-26 season, Curry, 37, and Butler, 36, were both named among the top 20 players in the league, a rare feat for players at this stage in their careers. Curry was ranked No. 7 overall, down just one spot from last year, a testament to his continued excellence. Last season, he averaged 24.5 points, 4.4 rebounds, and 6.0 assists per game, while shooting 39.7% from 3 and a league-best 93.3% from the free throw line. Even in year 17, he's still one of the most efficient and impactful players in the NBA. As ESPN's Anthony Slater noted, the Warriors outscored opponents by 299 points when Curry was on the court last season, the best on the team. When he sat, they were outscored by 28. His value, even now, remains undeniable. Butler finds his fit. For Butler, the ESPN rankings placed him at No. 18, following a mid-season trade that might have saved the Warriors' year, and reshaped his own trajectory. After a difficult final stretch in Miami, Butler arrived in Golden State seemingly re-energized. In his 30 regular season games with the team, he averaged 17.9 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5.9 assists, and 1.7 steals, all while adapting to a new system and role. According to Slater, his time with the Warriors was brief, 30 regular season games, 11 playoff games, but spectacular in every way. Most notably, the wins. The team was 25-26 when he arrived. They finished the season on a 23-8 run and went on to eliminate the second-seeded Rockets in the first round of the playoffs. It's not just about numbers for Butler, it's about fit, culture, and purpose. And in Golden State, he may have finally found the right mix. A new chapter, a renewed belief. There are still questions surrounding the Warriors heading into this season. The core is aging. The Western Conference is stacked. And the window, while still open, isn't as wide as it once was. But with Curry and Butler healthy, aligned, and motivated, there's a sense of quiet confidence building around the team. The Warriors were at their best last season when those two shared the floor, not just in terms of production, but in leadership and intensity. And now, after a full off-season together, there's reason to believe they'll be even better. Golden State may not be the undisputed favorite anymore, but they're not fading away either. As long as Steph Curry is leading the charge, and as long as Jimmy Butler is pushing alongside him, this team still has the pieces, and the pedigree, to make a serious run. Momentum and maturity. What comes next for the Warriors? As the Warriors gear up for the 2025-26 season, the focus isn't just on talent, it's on timing. The pairing of Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler isn't a long-term experiment. It's a 2 to 3 year window, at best, and everyone within the organization knows it. That sense of urgency is shaping everything, from preseason planning to locker room conversations. According to team sources, Curry and Butler have taken a more hands-on role in player development and daily preparation during training camp. The coaching staff, meanwhile, has built out new schemes specifically designed to maximize the strengths of its two veteran stars. There's a real seriousness this year, one Warriors assistant told The Athletic. They know the opportunity is there, but they also know it's not guaranteed. That's bringing out the best in both of them. The chemistry between Curry and Butler is more than just functional, it's intentional. Off the court, the two have grown close, forming a partnership rooted in mutual respect and a shared competitive edge. While Curry remains the undisputed face of the franchise, Butler's voice has become increasingly important behind the scenes, challenging teammates, holding film sessions, and setting a physical tone in practice. Adjustments and depth. One of the key takeaways from the end of last season was that the Warriors system had to evolve. While the classic motion offense still runs through Curry, the addition of Butler has brought new wrinkles, more half-court creation, more isolation flexibility, and critically, a stronger defensive anchor on the wing. Golden State also added key rotation players this offseason to complement their veteran duo. Younger wings and defensive-minded role players were targeted specifically to give Butler room to operate on both ends, while reducing the physical load on Curry across 82 games. Internally, the coaching staff believes this team, though older on the surface, might be more balanced than any Warriors roster since 2019. League-wide perspective. Around the league, the Curry-Butler pairing has drawn quiet admiration, and some concern. Executives from rival Western Conference teams view the Warriors as a legitimate threat, particularly if the supporting cast stays healthy. Some believe the duo's success last season was no fluke, citing their playoff win over Houston and a top-tier net rating when sharing the floor. Others remain cautious, pointing to the age of both stars and the increasingly competitive West. With Oklahoma City, Denver, and Phoenix all boasting younger cores, some insiders wonder whether Golden State can keep pace over the long haul. But there's also a prevailing belief that in a 7-game series, few players remain as dangerous as Curry, and now he has a partner who shares that postseason pedigree. Looking ahead, contention or transition? For now, the Warriors are focused on winning. The front office isn't treating this season as a farewell tour, but they are aware that windows close quickly in today's NBA. Curry is under contract through 2027, but with each year, the weight of last chances becomes heavier. Butler, meanwhile, seems to have found new life in Golden State. After years of carrying heavy expectations in Miami, the fit in the Bay Area has been described by those around him as liberating. He's energized, competitive, and by all accounts, determined to make the most of this chapter. Jimmy's not just trying to prove something, a team source said. He's trying to win, and do it the right way. That matters here. If both stars stay healthy and continue to lead by example, the Warriors won't just be contenders, they'll be one of the most dangerous veteran teams in the league. And if this season ends with a deep playoff run, or even one more title, it could mark one of the most impressive late-career resurgences in recent NBA history.